Hey everybody, this week's Torah portion is Parsha Trumah, and I'd like to spend a few moments doing something a little different, and that is a little bit of therapy, much needed therapy for many people in this country who were devastated this week to once again watch the New England Patriots win another Super Bowl. And what I'd like to suggest based on this week's Parsha and last week's Parsha is that if you're Jewish, you should in fact be rooting for the Patriots unless you have an overriding circumstance, like for example, if this year you were from LA or last year you were from Philadelphia. Other than that, if you're Jewish, you might want to root for the Patriots, and I'll tell you why. I once heard Darrelle Revis make an interesting statement. Darrelle Revis, of course, played for the New York Jets most of his career. That's the team I grew up rooting for. And then for a short time decided to switch over to the Patriots, win a Super Bowl, then come back to the Jets. And when he was shortly after he signed with the Patriots and he was in camp, he said, "This is one of the hardest. I've never worked so hard in my life. We better win the Super Bowl this year, because if I work this hard and don't get there, it will be a complete catastrophe." And that sentiment has been expressed by many players who have been on multiple teams and played for the Patriots. That one thing about the Patriots is they work you like crazy and they focus on all these little nitty gritty things. Just when you think there's absolutely no need, Bill Belichick decides to throw another, 10 hours of practice on something that they'll end up playing maybe once in a season, maybe not even that. And while a lot of people complain about that, they also must realize that it's not a coincidence that the man who works his players the hardest also ends up in the Super Bowl more than anyone else. Because the reality is that if you want to get to the goal, obviously there has to be a lot of work involved. And that's really, I think, the message of the last two Parshas. It's interesting that the Super Bowl always falls out during the week or between the weeks of Mishpatim, last week's Parsha, and this week's Parsha Trumah, or around that time zone. And it's not a coincidence. I think God set it up this way when orchestrating the Parshios and the football season, because these Parshios focus primarily on law. It's law after law after law. If you read it, as my son pointed out to me last week, this is just a bunch of laws stuck together in one Parsha. And you might think, well, that's a lot of dry law. Why do we need so many nitty-gritty laws? And the answer is, much like football, in life, if you want to be successful, it takes a lot of hard work. Now, it's a lot easier and more comfortable to not do that, but you'll likely not get to the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl of life, whatever that is in what a person's trying to achieve. Good things happen and meaningful life is lived when we work hard and we focus on those little nitty-gritty things and we have a lot of structure in our lives. And that's really, I think, why every Jew who doesn't have an invested interest should be rooting for the Patriots, because every time the Patriots win, they show us that hard work pays off. And that's really a large part of what we believe as Jews. We have to work hard in order to get to what we want, but it's worth it because in the end, we too will be raising the Torah trophy, the Lombardi Torah trophy. On behalf of Makar, have a Shabbat Shalom.